Here come the Hawkeyes.
Hannah Stoki racing to the basket, layup good.
Iowa Athletics is gearing up for another amazing season filled with exciting matchups and electrifying plays.
Working hard into the corner. Koch hits a three.
Get your game face ready and come on out to cheer the Hawkeyes on all season long. Visit HawkeyeSports.com to find tickets, schedules, game times, and more on Iowa. Go Hawks.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Iowa!
On the Hawkeye Sports Network from Learfield, this is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
A new era in college athletics will officially arrive July 1st, following a federal judge's approval of a $2.8 billion antitrust settlement between the House and NCAA, where, in short, colleges could now directly pay athletes through licensing deals. The process in arriving at this point began in 2016 with lawsuits filed against the NCAA and the then Power 5 conferences by student athletes. Each institution with an annual pool of at least $20.5 million can now compensate their athletes for use of name, image, and likeness, better known as NIL. I asked Iowa Athletic Director Beth Goetz if, on balance, this is the best that schools could have hoped for. Goetz responded, "It's a really good first step."
You know, is it perfect? No, but I think it's progress. It's certainly welcome, I think, to most of us across college athletics and to me and our staff here that we now have the ability to share resources directly with student athletes. So that piece I think is certainly where we wanted to land. We also think it's really important that there's a framework of rules. Do we have those exactly right? I think there's probably going to be future iterations of that. And we're still, navigating some things such as how we incorporate a student athlete voice in this new system. So I think you're going to see, several different iterations, in the years to come. But I think this is an opportunity for all of us to lean in and embrace this new environment, and it's incumbent upon us to make it work. We need to follow the parameters that are set out and start to give some structure, so that most importantly, the student athletes know what to expect and how to navigate things, but so that we can continue and get back to focusing on how to spend time and have our coaches spend time building relationships and coaching these young men and women up when they get to campus. So lots of good things, I think, coming from the settlement, and we'll see how it plays out over time. If you think about it, we really are going to have two different governance structures. So you'll have the NCAA and the College Sports Commission. And the easiest way to think about the College Sports Commission is that they will be responsible for everything that falls within the settlement terms to start. And then the NCAA is going to continue to do academic eligibility, playing and practice, sports-specific playing and practice season rules, and run NCAA championships. And so each of those organizations will sort of have a process, and they'll have rules, and they'll have enforcement structures. And so if you are an institution that is part of that settlement class or has chosen to opt in for those that were outside the Power 5, you'll be accountable to both of those organizations moving forward.
Each school in year one will proportion about $20.5 million to its sports, and this money will come from a variety of revenue producing entities, media rights, sponsorships, ticket sales. The majority of the financial pie derived from the ever-growing TV rights packages is huge, particularly where the college football playoffs expansion are concerned. There are 23 sports, if I counted them right, at Iowa, represented by several hundred student athletes. Will each athlete have his or her own employment contract?
So we've got about 22 sports, and with the new roster limits, we'll be maybe a little north of 550 student athletes.
Okay.
Overall. And any student who is partaking and participating in revenue sharing would have their own agreement, their own NIL agreement that would come with that. So all 550 athletes won't be receiving a revenue sharing contract, but those that would have an individual contract.
Beth, what about What about the collectives like the Swarm that has been providing compensation to athletes really since 2021? Do they continue to operate separately from the House NCAA agreement?
Yeah, Dolph, that's one of the really complicating factors in this new set of rules and parameters that are laid out by the settlement. You really have two buckets of permissible payments as we understand that. And again, what is it, June 24th? So we're trying to get to July 1st to see how these are all going to be enacted. But you've got this revenue sharing that's permissible up to the $20.5 million cap directly from the institution. And then any other resource outside of dollars that come from an institution, I have to go through NIL Go. So that's sort of the clearinghouse matrix, and those dollars above that $600 that they'll need to report, they're going to go through a test, and that test is there a real business purpose? Is that deal fit within a range of compensation, and what's the associated entity? And so what we think about is real NIL, or in our world, we like to call it Caitlin Clark money, right? So a deal with, State Farm or Hy-Vee. And so those will go through, and if those are approved, it's permissible for them to receive that resource above the cap. Where it gets a little tricky is collectives would now be subject to that same NIL Go sort of approval process. And so unless you meet any dollar that would come from a collective or any other associated entity is going to have to be able to meet those parameters. And so I think, when we talk about what the Swarm does, I mean, we'd have to, if those rules are in place, they'll have to evolve sort of how they look at that and see if there is a permissible way in which they can continue to provide resource. And I think that, that's still a little unknown at this point, how that might work out.
Well, football and men's basketball historically have been the primary revenue producers for the majority of schools. Now, will those two sports receive the lion's share of the 20.5 million plus? And will there be enough to sustain the Olympic sports like gymnastics and wrestling, soccer, and track and field? I know you don't have any plans to eliminate any sports at this point.
No, we certainly don't. And our commitment is to continue to field 22 competitive teams. But we are going to have some decisions to make, and I think in a revenue sharing piece, you'll see across all institutions, there's some individual decisions that we each make about where those resources go. And I think as we look at what market forces have been and what's driving the revenue, it's certainly fair to say here and everywhere else, I think that a lot of those resources will be directed to football and men's basketball. We're at Iowa. We'll be adding a few new scholarships in some of our Olympic sports as well, and trying to find ways to continue to be competitive across the board. But there will be decisions to make about where we think we need to put our resources so that our sports can continue to compete at the highest level.
Another minute or two here on our Fight for Iowa podcast with Hawkeye Athletic Director Beth Goetz. This is, to your opening comments, this is just the start of a new era in college athletics, and it'll continue to be a moving target with many questions still hanging out there. But one thing, Beth, that won't change is the value the University of Iowa puts on academics and the student athlete getting that degree, correct?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we've talked a lot about just what's materially important. And so we can embrace this new age of college athletics, but we're going to do it in a way that makes sense for who we are at Iowa and what we value. Certainly seeing them walk across the stage with an Iowa degree, and our commitment to developing them off the court and fields of competition are always going to be high priorities for us here. And those things aren't mutually exclusive. We can want to win and compete at the highest level. And the truth is, you raise excellence there, you're going to also be raising it as they complete their coursework and think about other ways in which they can grow as leaders. And so, it primarily won't change. I know from the outside, it looks a little bit different. Certainly some of our athletes are going to have a few more dollars in their pocket. But as you know, you and I get to see this every day with when we engage with athletes. They're the same kids they've always been, showing up to class, working out at your golf outings. I mean, they are, just super representatives of the University of Iowa, and we're going to continue to see that going forward.
Goetz said in 6 months or a year, it's incumbent for athletic departments to be nimble and pivot if necessary with all the changes in play, but she's confident that with an outstanding group of coaches across 22 sports, the future is bright for all 550 Hawkeye athletes. One of those is Iowa women's basketball star forward Hannah Stuelke. Stuelke was selected this week to the USA Basketball AmeriCup roster after 3 days of trials at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. Hannah Stuelke joins us after this pause and a word from our sponsors on the Fight for Iowa podcast. Iowa Athletics is gearing up for another amazing season filled with exciting matchups and electrifying plays. Get your game face ready and come on out to cheer the Hawkeyes on all season long. Visit HawkeyeSports.com to find tickets, schedules, game times, and more. Go Hawks!
Hello, Iowa. Here's a promise. Wherever you are in this great state, University of Iowa Healthcare is here for you, even if you never walk through our doors. Educating, caring, leading research, sharing our expertise with all. Because we believe that UI Healthcare is here to make all of Iowa better. UI Healthcare, changing medicine, changing lives. Visit uihealthcare.org.
This is the sound of grilling season. It's time to get back to cookouts, to gathering with friends and family, and making memories. And with Hy-Vee's lower prices on thousands of items all over the store, you can still get the best quality meat and everything else you need for your barbecues at prices that will make you smile. Get back to grilling for less, with a little help from Hy-Vee.
Coach Ferentz and the Hawkeyes are back to work on the gridiron. Many plans for the 2025 season are now available. Take advantage of the Black Plan, which includes Penn State, Minnesota, and Michigan State, or the Gold Plan, featuring UMass, Indiana, and Oregon. Saturdays inside Kinnick Stadium. It doesn't get any better. Visit HawkeyeSports.com for more information.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Iowa!
Team USA is competing at the FIBA Women's AmeriCup Basketball Championships in Santiago, Chile this week and next. Iowa Hawkeye star forward Hannah Stuelke landed a roster spot in her first try, as did Iowa State's Audie Crooks. Team America will open Group B play with host nation Chile, followed by Colombia, Puerto Rico, and Mexico. The winning team earns a berth to the World Cup tournament next summer to be held in Berlin. For Hannah Stuelke, representing her country is a thrill. The tryouts have been a great experience, leaving her comfort zone, exposed to new systems, different coaching philosophies, and making new friendships with young women from other quality programs. The former Cedar Rapids, Washington prep star adds, her family has been the backbone with its support and keeping her grounded.
Yeah, absolutely. My family has been amazing through everything, whether it was AAU traveling all over the country, or now they come to almost all my games. My mom's going to come down to Chile, which is really exciting. So just having that support has been wonderful.
I look at that roster, and there's a lot of names I recognize, including yours, Audie Crooks from Iowa State, who you've competed against the last few years. But you look at that all-star lineup, including your name, Hannah Hidalgo, Flaugier Johnson, Olivia Miles, Grace Van Sloten. This is a team packed with a lot of talent, but you need that for this kind of competition, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been amazing getting to play with girls who are such high-level players. Like most of them I've only seen when watching games, other than like Grace and Audie. I've played against both of them, and they're tremendous. And getting to know them more as people has been really cool too, because we are people too. We're not just athletes, you know.
Well, that's a fast learning curve, isn't it? When it comes to scouting reports, you know that the basketball now is such an international game. You know you're going to run into good teams every night out, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. It's just like playing in like the Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament. You know, you got that quick turnaround. You gotta be on your game, on your mental game, and just go out there and play like you know how to play. I've been playing for my whole life, and I know what to do. My body knows what to do.
Since the event's inception back in 1993, the World Cup, the United States has captured 4 AmeriCup gold titles, including 2019 and 2021. So it's I mean, USA basketball is so well known and highly thought of, Hannah. And you're the part of that next chapter. Must make you proud to know that you've made the elite team when it comes to not only USA basketball but international basketball. And what a thrill it's going to be. You get to see another part of the world that perhaps you haven't been to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I love to travel. I think being down there will be really cool, and seeing different styles of basketball is also really cool too. It teaches you a lot about the game, especially things that you haven't known before.
What have the coaches and the staff? Have you begun your prep for the competition, your scouting reports? What have they told you about international basketball that perhaps is slightly different or a major difference in USA basketball?
Yeah, I mean, we've been focusing on us a lot. We had to put in all our plays, our defense, stuff like that. And just another thing, we're playing against like grown women who've been playing probably for longer than we have. We're just college girls and they're like, I don't know, grown adults. So I think that'll be a change, probably the physicality, but nothing we can't handle. That's for sure.
For sure. Kara Lawson is the head coach. She's the head coach at Duke University. But what caught my eye was Jenny Baranchik, formerly Jenny Lillis, former great Iowa player. Now the head coach at the University of Oklahoma is one of the assistants, along with Jim Flannery of Creighton University. Jim is an Iowa native, and I know the Hawks have played his Creighton teams in postseason in the past too. So it's not old home week, but certainly familiar faces on a trip of several thousand miles, I would think raises your comfort level a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Having people that I already know around is always a great thing to have.
This is going to prepare you for your final year at the University of Iowa, I'm sure. And I'm sure you look at it that way, as a great experience like this should make you even better come this fall and winter, huh?
Yes, absolutely. That's what Coach Jay was saying too. Like, no matter what, we're getting better, and they're keeping the girls sharp at home. And I miss them dearly, but we're all getting better apart so we can get better together.
What's your motivation heading into this season at the University of Iowa? Jan Jensen installed or tweaked the system a little bit from what you were used to with Lisa Bluter the last few years. But what's your motivation? What statement does Hannah Stuelke want to make this coming year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think continuing to be myself, but growing what I can do on the court is really important for me. I won't be playing the 5 anymore, which might be a surprise to some people, but might not. But I'm really excited to experience kind of a new spot and figure out some new things in my game.
Stuelke will switch from the post to more of a 4 or power forward, but no doubt will have the freedom to create from several positions. Hannah averaged 13.7 rebounds and will be called upon to be the leader, the heart, and the soul of the Hawkeye roster. Stuelke will welcome help inside, in particular 6'4" sophomore Ava Hayden, who had a terrific first year. Called upon for depth and foul trouble rescue, Hayden, the Oregonian, averaged 5 points and 3 rebounds across 10 minutes of play. Another post talent from the Great Northwest, 6'5" incoming freshman Layla Hayes, the Alaska High School Player of the Year, is a 4-star recruit who selected the Hawkeyes over the likes of Duke, North Carolina, Indiana, Nebraska, and Illinois. That's it for this week's Fight for Iowa podcast. I'm Gary Dolphin. Happy 4th of July, and thank you, veterans. Go Hawks.
You've been listening to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Hawkeye fans, remember to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Once you become a Fight for Iowa podcast subscriber, you'll automatically receive the latest episodes of the Fight for Iowa podcast, the Hawkeyes Voice podcast, Hawk Talk replays, exclusive game day content, and more. Until next time, on Iowa, and go Hawks! The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Hawkeye Sports Network.